The fire alarm was what saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. Not a real fire alarm, the metaphorical kind that goes off in your gut when something fundamental shifts in the universe. Mine started blaring at exactly 8:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in the bathroom of Celestine Restaurant, where I'd gone to fix my lipstick before dessert arrived. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. I was washing my hands when I heard Henry's voice carrying through the ventilation system. Our table was directly below the bathroom, and the old building's ductwork created a perfect acoustic channel. I discovered this quirk months ago when I'd overheard the couple at our table proposing. It had seemed charming then. Honestly, though, I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. That was Henry, my boyfriend of 18 months. The man who told me I was beautiful every single day. The man who'd met my parents last month and charmed my mother so thoroughly she'd already started planning our wedding. I froze, water still running over my hands. Keep what up? Jake's voice. Henry's best friend since college. Dating her Emma. I mean, she's sweet and everything, but my heart stopped beating. I'm certain of it. There was a full second of absolute cardiac silence. But what? Connor this time, Henry's work buddy. A pause. In that pause, I died a little. Then Henry laughed. Not this real laugh. His performative one. The one he used when he wanted to seem cooler than he felt. Dude, she's just not hot enough for where I'm trying to go. You know what I mean? Like she's a solid 6, maybe 7 on a really good day, but I'm about to make partner at the firm. I need someone who looks the part, someone who turns heads when we walk into a room. The water kept running. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what I was hearing. That's cold, man. Jake sounded uncomfortable. It's practical, Henry countered. Look, I care about her. I do. But caring isn't enough when you're building a certain kind of life. My dad even mentioned it last week. Said I should think about the optics of who I'm seen with. Your dad's and Connor said. My dad's a senior partner at one of the most prestigious law firms in the country, Henry corrected. And he's right. Emma's great for now, but she's not ambitious enough. Not polished enough. Hell, she still shops at Target for clothes. I looked down at my dress. Navy blue from Target. $42. I thought I looked nice. So what are you going to do? Jake asked. I'm thinking tonight, actually. Clean break. I've already got someone else interested. Veronica from the corporate litigation team. Now she's a 10, and she's got the right connections. You're going to dump her tonight here? Connor sounded shocked. Why not? We're already out. Might as well rip the Band-Aid off. Besides, you guys are here. Makes it less dramatic. She can't make a scene with witnesses. My hands were still under the water. They'd gone numb. Everything had gone numb. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. That's brutal, Henry. Jake's voice had an edge. That's life. She'll get over it. Probably find some nice boring guy who appreciates her whole girl next door thing. I need someone who can keep up with me. I finally turned off the water. My reflection in the mirror looked exactly the same as it had 5 minutes ago. Same brown hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Same minimal makeup. Same Emma Chen who'd thought she was having a nice anniversary dinner with her boyfriend, except everything was different. I stood there dripping water on the marble floor and felt something I'd never felt before. Not heartbreak, not even anger, something colder, sharper, more calculating. My phone buzzed in my clutch. A text from my business partner, Lily. Client meeting moved to Thursday. How's dinner with Henry? I stared at that text for a long moment. Then I typed back, interesting. Very interesting. Need to call you in 10 minutes. Lily Chen, my cousin, my best friend since childhood, and my partner in Chen Digital Solutions, the cybersecurity and digital marketing firm we'd built from nothing over the past 5 years. The firm that Henry knew I worked at but had never bothered to ask details about. The firm that had just landed 3 Fortune 500 contracts in the last quarter alone. The firm that had made me a multi-millionaire at 29. Henry thought I was a mid-level marketing coordinator because that's what I'd told him when we met. Because I'd learned the hard way that men treated you differently when they thought you had money. My ex before Henry had proposed within 3 months of learning about my company's valuation. When I'd said I wanted to wait, he'd started stealing from my accounts. So when I met Henry at a mutual friends party, I'd lied. Said I worked in marketing at a small firm. Drove my Toyota instead of my Mercedes. Wore my Target dresses instead of my designer suits. Lived in my modest 2-bedroom apartment instead of my penthouse downtown. I'd wanted to see if someone could love me for me, not for what I could do for their career, not for my money, not for my connections. Turns out Henry couldn't even manage that. He couldn't even love the version of me I'd carefully constructed to be as non-threatening as possible. I looked at my reflection again. Really looked. Brown eyes that my grandmother said were too serious. A face that Henry apparently rated a 6 or 7. A body that I'd always thought was just fine, but that clearly wasn't hot enough for a man trying to make partner at his father's law firm. And then I smiled. Not a nice smile. A smile that would have terrified Henry if he could have seen it. I reapplied my lipstick carefully, fixed my hair, checked my teeth. Then I walked out of that bathroom like I was walking onto a battlefield, because that's exactly what I was doing. Henry looked up as I approached the table, his face shifting into that affectionate expression he always wore when he saw me. Fake. It had all been fake. "There you are. Thought you fell in," he joked. Jake and Connor both looked uncomfortable, refusing to meet my eyes. They knew. They knew what was about to happen. "Sorry," I said, sliding into my seat. "Got a work call on a Tuesday night?" Henry's tone was indulgent, condescending. "Burning the midnight oil, something like that." I picked up my water glass. "Actually, I was thinking we should talk about something." Henry exchanged a glance with Jake. "Here it comes," that glance said. "Time to execute the plan." "Funny you should say that." Henry reached across the table and took my hand. His palm was slightly sweaty, nervous. "Good. I've been thinking we should talk too." "Oh." I tilted my head, playing the part perfectly. The unsuspecting girlfriend about what? Henry took a deep breath, steeling himself. Jake and Connor were watching like spectators at a car crash. The tables around us continued their dinners, oblivious. "Look, Emma, you're a great person. You really are. But I think we need to be honest with ourselves about where this is going." "Where is it going?" I asked softly. "Nowhere." He said it gently, like that would cushion the blow. "We're in different places in our lives, different trajectories. I need someone who paused, choosing his words carefully. Someone who matches my ambitions, who can grow with me. And I just don't think you're that person." The silence at our table was absolute. Jake was staring at this plate. Connor was suddenly fascinated by the wine list. Henry was watching me with something like pity. "You don't think I'm ambitious enough?" I repeated. "It's not just that." Henry squeezed my hand like he was being kind. "It's a lot of things. The way you dress, your lack of interest in my work, your general presentation." "My presentation, you know what I mean?" His voice dropped lower. "You're pretty, Emma, but pretty isn't enough for where I'm going." "I need someone who's hot," I supplied. Henry had the grace to look slightly ashamed. "I need someone who makes an impression, who people remember, who can help me build the kind of reputation I need." I nodded slowly, not processing what he was saying now, but what I'd heard through the vent. "Solid 6, maybe 7 on a good day. Not hot enough." "So you're breaking up with me," I said. "Here in front of your friends at Celeste Stein." "I thought it would be easier with other people around," Henry admitted. "Less emotional, more civilized." Civilized. He thought humiliating me in public was civilized. I see. I pulled my hand back from his. "And you've already found someone else. Veronica, was it?" Henry's eyes widened. "How did you, the bathroom ventilation system?" I explained calmly. "It carries sound from here directly upward. I heard your entire conversation. Every word." The color drained from Henry's face. Jake actually flinched. Connor looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. "Emma," Henry started. "No, let me finish." I kept my voice level, pleasant even. "I heard you tell your friends that I'm a 6, maybe 7 on a good day. That I'm not hot enough for where you're trying to go. That I shop at Target. That I'm not ambitious or polished enough. That your father thinks you should consider the optics of who you're seen with." I didn't mean, "Oh, you meant it." I smiled at him. That same cold smile from the bathroom mirror. "You absolutely meant it. And you know what? You're right about some things." Henry looked confused. This wasn't how the dumped girlfriend was supposed to react. "I do shop at Target," I continued. "I don't prefer casual clothes. I'm not particularly interested in your corporate litigation work, though I find it fascinating that you think a tax law dispute about offshore holdings is worth discussing at every dinner party." "Emma, but you're wrong about other things." I pulled my phone from my clutch and opened it to the email I'd received last week. The one I hadn't told Henry about because he never asked about my work. Like my ambitions, for instance. I turned the phone to show him the screen. His eyes focused on it, reading, then reading again. His face went from confused to shocked to something approaching horror. That's he started Aprofile from Business Insider. I confirmed about Chen Digital Solutions, the cybersecurity and digital marketing firm that I own with my cousin Lily, the firm that's currently valued at $47 million, the firm that just won contracts with Amazon, Microsoft, and Goldman Sachs. The silence at our table had spread. People at nearby tables were starting to notice the tension, but I didn't care. I was just getting started. That's not possible, Henry whispered. You work at a small marketing firm. You're a coordinator. I lied. I shrugged. I learned early that men treated me differently when they knew I had money. My last boyfriend proposed after 3 months and started embezzling within 6. So when I met you, I decided to try something different. I wanted to see if someone could love me without the money, without the success, without the power. Jake was staring at his plate like it might offer escape. Connor had gone completely pale. Turns out, I continued, my voice never rising above conversational level. You couldn't even manage that. You couldn't even love the version of me I deliberately made as non-threatening as possible. The version that dressed down and drove a cheap car and never talked about her achievements because it still wasn't enough. I still wasn't hot enough for you, Emma. I'm sorry. Henry reached for my hand again, but I pulled back. Don't. The single word cut through his apology like a knife. Don't apologize. Don't explain. Don't try to backtrack now that you know the truth. You said what you said. You felt what you felt. And you know what? I appreciate the honesty. I stood up, gathering my clutch. Every eye in the restaurant was honest now, but I didn't care. Let them watch. Let them see. I appreciate knowing that after 18 months together, you valued my appearance over my character. That you rated me like I was a product on a shelf. That you discussed dumping me with your friends like it was a business decision. That you planned to humiliate me in public to make it less emotional. Henry's face had gone from pale to red. Humiliation was settling in. Good. But most of all, I leaned down so only Artable could hear. I appreciate knowing exactly who you are before I made the mistake of thinking you were worth my time. I straightened up and looked at Jake and Connor. For what it's worth, you both seemed uncomfortable with his plan. That speaks well of you. Then I looked back at Henry, really looked at him, saw him for what he was. A mediocre man with a famous father, coasting on nepotism and arrogance, who thought he was better than everyone around him. Enjoy your dessert, Henry, and enjoy Veronica. I'm sure she'll be everything you deserve. I turned to walk away, but Henry grabbed my wrist. His grip was tight enough to hurt. You can't just let go of me. My voice was ice. He didn't. His face was twisted with anger now. The humiliation was curdling into rage. You lied to me for 18 months. You lied about everything. About who you are, what you do, what you have. I showed you exactly who I was, I interrupted. I was kind. I was supportive. I was loyal. I showed up for every boring work dinner and pretended to care about your cases. I met your parents. I integrated into your life. The only thing I didn't share was my money. And that's what really bothers you, isn't it? Not that I lied, but that you missed your chance. His grip tightened. You're a fraud. No, Henry. I'm a woman who protected herself from men like you. Men who only see value in what someone can do for their image, their career, their ego. And it worked perfectly, because you showed me exactly who you are when you thought I had nothing. Let her go. Connor's voice cut through the tension. He was standing now, his hand on Henry's shoulder. Dude, let her go. You're making it worse. Henry released my wrist. I could see the red marks already forming. That's going to bruise, I observed clinically, but that's okay. I know an excellent lawyer who specializes in documentation for harassment cases. She owes me a favor. That got through to him. Henry was a lawyer. He understood the implications. I didn't mean, but you did. I rubbed my wrist gently. You meant all of it, every word, every decision, every moment of contempt you felt for the woman you thought I was. I pulled out my wallet and dropped $300 bills on the table. More than enough to cover our dinner and a generous tip. Consider this my contribution to dinner. And Henry, I paused at the edge of our table. When you make partner at your father's firm in 3 years because you're riding his coattails and not because you're actually good at your job. When you marry Veronica or whoever else rates high enough on your scale, I want you to remember this moment. Remember the woman you thought was a 6 and wonder what your life might have been like if you'd been a better person. Then I walked out of Celestine with my head high, leaving Henry sitting at our table with his friends and the wreckage of his dignity. I made it to my car before I started shaking. Not crying, not yet, just shaking. The adrenaline was wearing off and the reality was setting in. 18 months of my life. 18 months of carefully constructed lies and genuine feelings all tangled together. 18 months of hoping that maybe, just maybe, I'd found someone who could love me for me. And it had all been fake, worse than fake. He'd been planning to discard me like I was a business decision that wasn't working out. I sat in my Toyota, that deliberately cheap car I'd bought specifically to maintain my cover, and let the shaking run its course. My phone buzzed. "Lily, where are you?" "You said 10 minutes. It's been 20. I called her instead of texting back. "Emma, what's wrong? You sound weird." "He dumped me," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Well, he tried to at Celestine in front of his friends after telling them I was a 6 and not hot enough for where he's going in his career. Silence. Then, "I'm going to kill him. Get in line." "Emma, are you okay?" Was I okay? I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Same face as this morning. Same Emma Chen. But something had shifted. Something fundamental. "I'm better than okay," I said slowly, realizing it was true. "I'm free and I'm angry and I have an idea." "Oh no, I know that tone." "What are you thinking?" I smiled at my reflection. "I'm thinking Henry Lee is about to learn an important lesson about underestimating people, specifically about underestimating me." "Emma, he works at Lee & Patterson, right? His father's firm. The one that's been trying to poach our clients for the last 6 months." "Yeah, but what does that have to..." Lily stopped. I could hear the exact moment she realized where I was going. Oh, Emma, you're brilliant." "I know." I started my car. The engine turned over with that reliable Toyota purr. Meet the office. We have work to do. It's almost 1000 p.m. Then we have all night. I drove away from Celestine, leaving Henry and his friends and his humiliation behind me. In my rear view mirror, I could see him standing on the sidewalk watching my car disappear. He looked small, insignificant, exactly as small as he'd tried to make me feel. But I wasn't small. I wasn't insignificant, and I sure as hell wasn't a 6. I was Emma Chen, owner of Chen Digital Solutions, a woman who'd built an empire while dating a man who thought she was barely competent, a woman who just dodged the bullet of a lifetime by overhearing a conversation in a restaurant bathroom. And now I was a woman with a plan. Henry wanted someone ambitious, someone who made an impression, someone people remembered. He was about to get his wish, just not in the way he expected. The drive to our office took 15 minutes. It was located in a renovated warehouse in the Arts District, deliberately understated from the outside. Inside was a different story. 3 floors of cutting-edge equipment, a staff of 43 brilliant minds, and enough digital firepower to bring down a small government. We specialized in cybersecurity and digital reputation management. We helped companies protect their online presence, their data, their secrets. We built impenetrable firewalls and created foolproof security systems. We were the best in the business. And now we were going to use all of that expertise for something deliciously petty. Lily was already in the main conference room when I arrived. Her laptop open and her dark hair pulled up in a messy bun. She looked up as I walked in, her eyes scanning my face. "You're sure about this?" I set my bag down and pulled out my laptop. He called me a 6 Lily in front of his friends, then tried to dump me in public to avoid a scene. "Yes, I'm sure." "Fair enough." She spun her laptop around to show me what she'd already pulled up. Lee & Patterson, mid-size corporate litigation firm, been in business for 37 years, currently ranked 15th in the city for corporate law. They've been trying to break into the top 10 for the last 5 years, and they're vulnerable. They lost 3 major clients last year after a data breach. Nothing huge, but enough to make people nervous. Their cybersecurity is garbage. I could break into their system in about 20 minutes. "Don't," I said. "We're not criminals." "I wasn't going to," Lily grinned. "But it's nice to know we could if we wanted to." I pulled up my own files on Lee & Patterson. We'd compiled them months ago when they tried to poach our Amazon contract. They'd sent Henry, actually. He'd shown up at our office pretending to need marketing services, trying to get information about our pricing and our clients. I'd recognized him immediately, of course, but I'd played along, fed him useless information through a junior associate, and watched him walk away thinking he'd accomplished something. He'd bragged about it at dinner that night, told me how he'd outsmarted some marketing firm. I'd smiled and congratulated him, all while knowing he'd gotten nothing useful. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Now," I asked, pulling up another screen. "Everything." I started typing financial records, client lists, case histories, personnel files. "I want to know every skeleton in Lee & Patterson's closet." "Legal skeletons only," Lily clarified. "Obviously, we're not manufacturing evidence." We're just illuminating what's already there. Lily didn't sound convinced. And what exactly are we planning to do with this illumination? I sat back thinking, what was I planning to do? Ruin Henry's career? Destroy his father's firm? That seemed excessive satisfying, but excessive? No, I wanted something more subtle, more elegant. I wanted Henry to feel exactly what I'd felt tonight. Small, insignificant, not good enough. We're going to make him irrelevant, I said slowly. We're going to take everything he values and show him it was never really his to begin with. I love it when you get philosophical. Lily was already typing. But I need specifics, Emma. What's the actual plan? I thought about Henry's face when he realized who I really was. The shock, the horror, the dawning understanding that he'd miscalculated catastrophically. I wanted more of that. I wanted him to feel that every day. Lean Patterson wants to break into the top 10 firms. I said they need better clients, bigger cases, more prestige, right? And they think their biggest weakness is their cybersecurity and their online presence. They've been shopping for a firm to handle it. Lily's eyes lit up. They have. They put out an RFP 3 months ago. We didn't bid on it because of the conflict with Henry. We're going to bid on it now. Emma under a subsidiary name, something they won't connect to us immediately. I was thinking fast now, the plan crystallizing. We're going to win that contract. We're going to become integral to their operation, and then we're going to use our access to find every piece of leverage we need. That's a long game. I have time. I met Lily's eyes. Henry humiliated me tonight because he thought I was powerless, because he thought I was small and insignificant and not worth his consideration. I want him to learn slowly and painfully that the woman he discarded is the one holding all the cards. Lily studied me for a long moment. You're sure this isn't just about revenge? It's absolutely about revenge, I admitted, but it's also about justice. Lean Patterson has been playing dirty for years. They've been stealing clients, undercutting contracts, spreading false information about competitors. They're due for a reckoning. And Henry is a symptom of a larger problem. His father taught him that people are commodities, that relationships are transactions, that anyone who doesn't serve your purpose is disposable. I pulled up Henry's LinkedIn profile. His smile looked different now. Fake. I'm going to teach him a different lesson, which is that underestimating people is the fastest way to destroy yourself. Lily was quiet for a moment, then nodded. Okay, I'm in. But we do this, right? No illegal access, no manufactured evidence. Everything above board. Everything above board. I agreed. We don't need to cheat. We're actually better than they are. Damn right we are. We worked through the night building the foundation of our plan. By sunrise, we had a new subsidiary company registered, Vertex Solutions. We had a completely separate website, separate branding, and a separate point of contact. Nothing that would immediately connect back to Chen Digital Solutions. We had a proposal for Lee and Patterson's RFP that was significantly better than anything their other bidders could offer and priced competitively enough to be attractive, but not suspiciously low. And we had a timeline. 3 months to win the contract, 6 months to become indispensable, 9 months to have complete leverage. By the time Henry realized what was happening, it would be too late. You should go home, Lily said, as dawn light started filtering through the windows. Get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. Tomorrow is going to be amazing. I corrected her, but I was exhausted. The adrenaline had long since faded, leaving behind the bone-deep tiredness that comes after emotional trauma. I gathered my things and headed for the door, then paused. Lily, yeah. Thank you for not trying to talk me out of this. She smiled. Emma, you're my cousin and my best friend. But more than that, you're the smartest person I know. If you say this is what needs to happen, I trust you. I drove home as the city woke up around me, not to my modest apartment, to my real home. The penthouse downtown that I'd bought 3 years ago and kept completely separate from my relationship with Henry. The doorman greeted me with his usual professional smile. The elevator rose smoothly to the top floor. My apartment spread out before me, all floor-to-ceiling windows and carefully curated furniture, and the kind of space that Henry had probably dreamed about, but would never have. I stood at the window and looked out at the city. Somewhere down there, Henry was probably just waking up, probably checking his phone, probably wondering if I'd text him, if I'd call. If I'd beg for another chance, he'd be waiting a long time. My phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. Hello, Emma. It's Connor from dinner last night. I was surprised. How did you get my number? I stole it from Henry's phone while he was in the bathroom. Look, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for last night, for not stopping him, for being there while he planned that whole thing. It's not your fault. Yeah, but I could have said something, could have warned you. I didn't, and that was wrong. He paused. For what it's worth, I think you're amazing. And Henry is an idiot. He is, I agreed. I just wanted you to know that not all of us thought what he did was okay. Jake and I have been talking. We're done with him. Life's too short to be friends with people who treat others like that. Something warm flickered in my chest. Not all of Henry's friends were terrible. That was good to know. Thank you, Connor. That means a lot. Yeah, well, take care of yourself, Emma. And for what it's worth, you're definitely not a 6. He hung up before I could respond. I stood there holding my phone, looking out at the city, and felt something shift inside me. Not just anger anymore, something more complex. A mixture of hurt and determination, and righteous fury, and strange, unexpected hope. Henry had tried to break me tonight, had tried to make me feel small and worthless, and not good enough. Instead, he'd freed me from the lie I'd been living, freed me from the exhausting work of pretending to be less than I was, freed me from a future with a man who would have spent our entire lives making me feel insufficient. And in trying to diminish me, he'd awakened something I'd forgotten I had. Not just my money or my power or my success, my edge, my willingness to fight, my absolute refusal to be underestimated ever again. Henry wanted someone who would make an impression, someone people would remember. He was about to get his wish. I was Emma Chen, owner of a multi-million-dollar company, a woman who'd built an empire through intelligence, hard work, and strategic thinking. And I was done playing small, the game was on. And unlike Henry, I actually knew how to play. 3 weeks after the Celeste Stein incident, Vertex Solutions received confirmation that we'd won the Lee and Patterson contract. The email came through at 2:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. Lily burst into my office waving her phone like a victory flag. We got it. They want to start the onboarding process next week. I looked up from the quarterly reports I'd been reviewing. Chen Digital Solutions was having its best quarter yet. 3 new Fortune 500 clients, 2 government contracts pending, and a profile in Tech Innovator magazine scheduled for next month. Life without Henry was treating me exceptionally well. Did they negotiate on price? I asked barely. They tried to knock off 5%, but I held firm, told them our expertise was worth the premium. Lily dropped into the chair across from my desk. They bought it. The senior partner himself called to finalize. Very impressed with our proposal. The senior partner, Henry's father, Richard Lee. I'd never met him in person. Henry had always found reasons to keep me away from his family events. Now I understood why I wasn't polished enough, wasn't impressive enough, wasn't worth introducing to the people who mattered. When do we start? I kept my voice neutral. Monday. They want us on site for the initial security audit. Lily was watching me carefully. Emma, you know you don't have to do this. We can send a team. You don't have to set foot in that building. I want to. And I did, not for revenge, though that was certainly part of it. I wanted to see Henry's face when he realized, wanted to watch the exact moment he understood what he'd lost. Okay. Lily pulled out her tablet. Then we need to talk about the team. Obviously, not you or me for the initial meetings. They'd recognize us immediately. We'd planned for this. Vertex Solutions had its own staff, carefully recruited over the past 3 weeks. People who'd worked with us before but weren't publicly associated with Chen Digital Solutions. People wet-rusted completely. James Park for lead consultant. I said James was brilliant, mid-40s with the kind of calm authority that inspired confidence. Kesha Williams for tech assessment, and David Chen for client relations. Your brother? Lily raised an eyebrow. My cousin twice removed. Close enough that I trust him. Distant enough that the last name won't raise immediate flags. I pulled up David's profile. He was perfect for this. Charming, competent, and utterly loyal to family. They're going to figure it out eventually. Not until we're too valuable to fire. I'd been thinking about this constantly. The timeline was crucial. We needed to become so integral to their operations that discovering our true identity would be more costly than dealing with it. 6 months minimum. Python will have access to everything. Lily was quiet for a moment. Emma, I have to ask, what's the end game here? We get access to their systems, find whatever dirt exists, and then what? Expose them? Blackmail them? Because we're not doing that second one. No blackmail. I'd thought about this too. What did I actually want? I want them accountable. Lean Patterson has been operating in ethical gray areas for years, stealing clients through industrial espionage, burying whistleblower complaints, using their reputation to intimidate smaller firms. And Henry is a product of that system. His father taught him that winning matters more than integrity, that people are tools, that relationships are transactions with value propositions. I closed my laptop. I want him to understand that actions have consequences, that treating people like commodities eventually catches up with you. That's very philosophical, Lily stood up. But at some point, this stops being about justice and starts being about revenge. Make sure you know where that line is. She left me alone with that thought. Was this about justice or revenge? Both, probably. But Lily was right. I needed to stay focused on the legitimate goal. Lee and Patterson needed oversight. Henry needed to learn accountability. Everything else was just personal satisfaction. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Emma, it's Jake. Connor gave me your number. Hope that's okay. Just wanted to check in. Jake, Henry friend from dinner. The one who'd looked uncomfortable during the breakup but hadn't said anything. It's fine. What's up? Coffee sometime? I owe you an apology. A real one, not over text. I stared at that message for a long moment. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Jake had been complicit in Henry's plan, even if he'd been uncomfortable. He'd known what was going to happen and hadn't warned me, but Connor had called to apologize. Had cut ties with Henry. Maybe Jake deserved the same chance. Sure. Thursday at 3, Bluebird Cafe downtown. Perfect. See you then. I set my phone down and returned to work. Chen Digital Solutions wasn't going to run itself, and I had a secondary company to manage. Now Vertex Solutions needed to look legitimate, needed to perform flawlessly, needed to be everything Lee and Patterson thought they were getting. The irony was delicious. They were getting exactly what they needed, just not from who they thought. Monday morning arrived with the crisp clarity of autumn settling over the city. I dressed carefully in my real clothes, a tailored Armani pantsuit in charcoal gray, Louboutin heels, hair professionally styled, the full armor of success. Then I drove to a location 3 blocks from Lean Patterson's office building and switched to my Toyota. Changed into my Target dress, pulled my hair back into a simple ponytail. Became the Emma that Henry had known just in case. I watched from a coffee shop across the street as James, Kesha, and David entered the building. They looked perfect, professional, confident, exactly what a premium cybersecurity firm should look like. My phone buzzed with updates as they progressed through the building. Security check. Elevator to the 15th floor. Conference room B. Meeting with Richard Lee himself. He ordered another coffee and waited. An hour later, James texted initial meeting successful. They're impressed. Henry was in the room. My hand tightened on my coffee cup. Henry had been there, had sat through a presentation from a company that I owned that I'd created specifically to infiltrate his firm. And he had no idea his... Slightly pathetic, I admitted. I spent 18 months pretending to be less than I was because I was afraid of being used for my money. That's not pathetic. That's self-preservation. Jake took a sip of his coffee. My sister did something similar. She's a surgeon. When she started dating, she told people she was a nurse. Wanted to avoid the guys who were just interested in her income. Did it work? She's been married for 5 years to a high school teacher who didn't find out she was a surgeon until their 3rd date. So yeah, it worked. I smiled despite myself. How did he react? Laughed for about 10 minutes, then asked if she was always going to lie about big things. She said no. He said good because he was actually terrible at math and could use help with his finances. Jake smiled at the memory. They're disgustingly happy. That's what I wanted, I said quietly. Just someone who could love me without the complications of what I have. Henry wasn't capable of that. He's too much like his father. Jake's expression darkened. Richard Lee taught him that everything is a transaction, that people are assets or liabilities. That love is just another form of networking. You know Richard? I've met him a few times. Cold bastard, brilliant lawyer, but completely immoral, the kind of guy who'd throw his own mother under a bus if it helped a case. Jake paused. Henry used to be different. In college, he was actually kind, but working at his father's firm changed him. Or maybe it just revealed what was always there. I thought about that. Could people really change that much? Or did circumstances just reveal their true nature? What about you, I asked. You work in finance, right? Investment banking. Connor and I both do? We met Henry through a networking event about 5 years ago. Jake looked uncomfortable. We've been enabling him honestly. laughing at his jokes about other people, going along with his schemes. We're not innocent here, but you're trying to be better. Trying. Hem at my eyes. Connor and I talked after that dinner. We decided we're done with Henry. Done with that whole toxic friend group. We're too old to be acting like fraternity brothers raiding women at bars. That's good. It's overdue. Jake finished his coffee. Look, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to like me. I just wanted you to know that what happened at Celestine, that wasn't okay. And some of us know it. I studied him for a moment. He seemed genuine, tired and guilty, and genuinely remorseful. People could change. Maybe not Henry, but perhaps his friends could. Thank you for apologizing. I said it means something. Yeah. It doesn't fix anything, but it helps. We talked for another hour about his work, about my company, the truth this time, about mutual acquaintances and the strange social dynamics of professional networking. It was surprisingly easy. Jake was funny and self-deprecating and refreshingly honest about his own failings. As Wes stood to leave, he hesitated. One more thing. Henry is planning something. My attention sharpened. Planning what? I don't know details, but he was on the phone with someone yesterday. I overheard part of it. He mentioned your company. Chen Digital Solutions said something about making sure you understood who you were dealing with. A threat, maybe. Or maybe he's just talking big. Henry does that when he feels humiliated. Makes grand plans that usually go nowhere. Jake pulled out his phone. But I thought you should know. Be careful. After he left, I sat in my car and thought about that warning. Henry was planning something. Some kind of retaliation for the humiliation at Celestine. Good. Let him plan. Let him scheme. Let him think he was playing offense. He had no idea I was already 3 moves ahead. I called Lily. Change of plans. I want surveillance on Henry. Nothing illegal. Just monitoring his public social media, his professional activities, anything we can access legally. You think he's gonna try something? I know he is. Jake just warned me. Henry mentioned our company by name. What can he actually do? He doesn't have access to anything sensitive. He's a lawyer at a firm that specializes in corporate litigation. He knows people, has connections, could start rumors, file frivolous complaints, cause problems for our reputation. I started the car. I want to know what he's planning before he does it. On it, Emma? Yeah, this is getting complicated, I know. Just remember why we're doing this. It's not about destroying Henry. It's about protecting your company and holding Lee and Patterson accountable for their practices. I know, I said again. But did I? The lines were blurring. Revenge and justice, personal satisfaction, and professional responsibility. The woman I'd been before Celestine and the woman I was becoming. That night I couldn't sleep. I stood at my penthouse windows looking out at the city and wondered what Henry was doing. Was he plotting, planning, or had Jake been wrong? And Henry had already moved on with Veronica and his carefully curated life. My phone buzzed. James from the Vertex Solutions team. You need to see this. I'm sending files now. The files arrived moments later, encrypted, heavily protected. I opened them on my secure laptop and felt my blood run cold. Lee and Patterson's security wasn't just bad. It had been actively compromised. Someone had been inside their systems for at least 6 months. Had accessed client files, litigation strategies, privileged communications, everything. This is an active breach, I said when I called James back. Someone is stealing information right now. I know. Kesha found the back door about an hour ago. Whoever did this is sophisticated. Government-level sophisticated or corporate espionage, that too. I pulled up the access logs. The breach was clever, routed through multiple proxies designed to look like normal system activity. But it was there, clear as day to anyone who knew what to look for. We have to tell them, I said. Tell Lee and Patterson that their security has been compromised for months. Emma, that's going to open a massive can of worms. Their clients could sue. The state bar could investigate. The firm could collapse. Then it collapses. We're not going to cover up a breach this serious. What about our cover? Richard Lee is going to want to know why Vertex Solutions found this when his previous IT team didn't. Because we're actually competent and because we were looking. He made the decision. Set up a meeting tomorrow morning. Richard Lee, the firm's senior partners, everyone who needs to know. We're disclosing this immediately. Emma, tomorrow morning. James, this isn't negotiable. I hung up and sat in the darkness of my penthouse, thinking about consequences. Tomorrow we'd reveal the breach. Lee and Patterson would panic. There would be investigations, lawsuits, potential criminal charges if client data had been sold or misused. And Henry would be right in the middle of it, Not because I'd planned it, but because his father's firm had been so arrogant, so convinced of their own superiority that they'd ignored basic security protocols. Karma, it seemed, didn't need my help. The emergency meeting was scheduled for 8 a.m. sharp. I arrived at Lean Patterson's building at 7:30, not as doughy Emma in her Toyota, but as myself. Full armor, Valentino suit in navy blue, Cartier watch, hair styled by the same person who did the mayor's wife. I walked through those lobby doors like I owned them, because in a way I did. Vert.x Solutions had RU access to every system in this building. We knew more about Lee and Patterson's operations than their own partners did. James met me at the elevator bank, his eyes widening slightly at my appearance. "Emma, I wasn't expecting you to." "This is too important for delegates." I pressed the button for the 15th floor. "Besides, it's time." "Time for what?" "For them to know exactly who they're dealing with." The conference room was already filling when we arrived. Richard Lee sat at the head of the table, every inch the senior partner. Steel gray hair, expensive suit, the kind of commanding presence that came from decades of winning. Henry sat 3 chairs down, typing on his phone, barely looking up. He didn't recognize me. Not immediately. I'd become invisible to him the moment he decided I wasn't worth his attention. Kesha and David were already set up, our presentation loaded and ready. The other senior partners filed in along with the firm's in-house IT director, who looked like he'd been awake all night. Richard Lee checked his watch. "Let's begin. I understand you found something concerning." Concerning is an understatement. James opened the presentation. 3 days ago, during our initial security audit, we discovered unauthorized access to your network, multiple entry points, sophisticated techniques ongoing for approximately 7 months. The room went silent. Henry looked up from his phone. "That's impossible," the IT director sputtered. "We have firewalls, security protocols. You have outdated firewalls and no 2-factor authentication." Kesha pulled up the first slide. "Your security is essentially non-existent. A moderately skilled hacker could breach your system in under an hour." Richard Lee's expression didn't change, but his knuckles whitened on his pen. "What data was accessed?" "Everything." I spoke for the first time, and Henry's head snapped toward me. I watched recognition dawn on his face. First confusion, then shock, then something like horror. "Emma," he whispered. "Client files, litigation strategies, privileged communications, financial records." I kept my eyes on Richard Lee, ignoring Henry completely. "Whoever did this had unrestricted access to your most sensitive information for months." "Who are you?" Richard Lee demanded, his commanding presence sharpening into something dangerous. "Emma Chen, CEO of Chen Digital Solutions. Vertex Solutions is our subsidiary." I let that sink in. "We created it specifically to win your contract because your firm has been attempting to steal our clients for the past year." The room erupted. Henry shot to his feet. The other partners started talking over each other. Richard Lee held up one hand, and silence fell immediately. "You infiltrated my firm under false pretenses. We bid on your RFP under a legitimate subsidiary company and won based on merit." I pulled up the contract on the screen. "Everything we've done has been completely legal, unlike the data breach we discovered, which puts your firm in violation of attorney-client privilege, state bar regulations, and potentially federal law." "This is absurd." Henry found his voice. "She's lying. This is revenge because I broke up with her." "Actually, this started as revenge." I finally looked at him. "But it became something much more serious when we discovered you've been compromised. Your client's confidential information has been exposed. Cases have been potentially undermined. Millions of dollars in damages if this goes public." Richard Lee was studying me with new intensity. "What do you want?" "Nothing from you. We're disclosing this because it's the ethical thing to do. What you do with the information is your choice." I nodded to James. "We've prepared a full report documenting the breach, how we discovered it, and recommendations for immediate remediation." "You expect me to believe you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart?" Richard Lee's voice was ice after admitting you infiltrated my firm for revenge. "Believe what you want," I stood. "But if you don't address this breach immediately, your clients will sue you into oblivion when it comes out. And it will come out. These things always do." "She's playing you, Dad." Henry Wuzzard-faced now. "She lied to me for 18 months about who she was. Pretended to be some nobody when she's actually a multi-millionaire who built a successful company." I turned to him fully now. "Yes, Henry. I lied about my money because I wanted to see if someone could love me without it. Turns out you couldn't even manage that. You couldn't love the version of me I created specifically to be non-threatening. You're not a 6, he said quietly. The room went silent again. That was I was being an idiot. Yes, you were. But that's not why we're here. I turned back to Richard Lee. We're here because your firm's security is catastrophically bad, and someone has been exploiting that. Our report includes forensic evidence, access logs, and a detailed timeline. What you do with it is your decision. Richard Lee was quiet for a long moment. And if we choose to bury this, claim you planted evidence, then we take it to the State Bar ourselves. I met his eyes steadily. Mr. Lai, I started this wanting to humiliate your son, but I'm not going to let innocent clients suffer because of your firm's negligence. Fix your security, notify your clients, do the right thing, or we'll force you to. I could see the calculation in his eyes, the weighing of options, the realization that we held all the cards. Leave the airport, he said finally. We'll review it. We can stay and help implement. Leave now. Consider your contract terminated. Fine. I gathered my things, but Mr. Lee, the breach is still active. Every hour you wait, more data is compromised. Your choice. James, Kesha, David, and I walked out of that conference room with our heads high. Behind us, I could hear the explosion starting. Raised voices, accusations, the sound of a firm beginning to tear itself apart. We didn't speak until we were back in our car, blocks away from the building. That went well, David said dryly. Define well. Kesha was already on her laptop. They're going to fight this. Claim we fabricated evidence. Let them try. I was watching Lee and Patterson's building receded in the rearview mirror. We documented everything. Multiple independent sources. It's ironclad. My phone rang. An unknown number. I answered on speaker. Miss Chen, this is Patricia Wong from the State Bar Association. I've just received a very interesting anonymous report about Lee and Patterson's security practices. I was wondering if you might have time to discuss it. I smiled. I have all the time you need, Ms. Wong. The next 3 weeks were chaos. The State Bar launched an investigation. Lee and Patterson's clients started demanding answers. The legal press got hold of the story. Prestigious firm's security breach exposes confidential client data. Read the headlines. Chen Digital Solutions' phone rang off the hook. Suddenly, every law firm in the city wanted our services. Our reputation for finding and exposing the Lee and Patterson breach had made us the most trusted name in legal cybersecurity. Henry tried to call 17 times. I blocked him after the 3rd message. He tried emailing. I filtered those too. Finally, he showed up at my office. Security stopped him at the front desk. Please, I heard him saying on the security feed. I just need 5 minutes. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I was wrong about everything. I watched him on the monitor. He looked terrible, exhausted, desperate, nothing like the confident man who'd rated me a 6 in front of his friends. I went down to the lobby. Emma. His face flooded with relief. Thank you. I just need 5 minutes, I know. I crossed my arms. Talk. I was an idiot. A complete idiot. Everything you said was right. I judged you, belittled you, treated you like you were worthless. And you're not. You're brilliant and successful, and I was too stupid to see it. You saw what you wanted to see. I know, and I'm sorry. God, Emma, I'm so sorry. His eyes were red from crying or lack of sleep. I couldn't tell. The firm is imploding. My father blames me. Says, if I hadn't alienated you, you never would have targeted us. I didn't target you, Henry. I targeted your firm because it's been operating unethically for years. The fact that you work there was just convenient. Is there any way? He stopped, started again. Can we try again now that you know I know the truth? I studied him, really looked at him and felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, not even pity, just a mild sense of closure. No, Henry, we can't. Why not? I'll be better. I'll appreciate you. You'll treat me well, because you know I have money now. That's not love. That's transaction. I turned to go. Goodbye, Henry. I hope you learned something from all this. Emma, please. No. I looked back at him one last time. You wanted someone ambitious, someone polished, someone who made an impression. Well, you got your wish. I made an impression. All right. Just not the kind you expected. I walked away and didn't look back. 2 months later, Lee and Patterson settled with 47 clients for security negligence. Richard Lee stepped down as managing partner. Henry left the firm and moved to a smaller practice in another city. The legal community had a new cautionary tale about hubris and negligence. Chen Digital Solutions signed 8 new law firm clients and expanded into government contracts. We hired 20 new employees. Forbes did a profile on me. the accidental whistleblower who changed legal cybersecurity. I never mentioned Henry by name in any interview. Didn't need to. The story was bigger than him. I was in my office when Lily knocked on my door. "Someone here to see you. Says you met at Bluebird Cafe." Jake walked in looking nervous. "Hi, I hope it's okay." "I just showed up. It's fine." "What's up?" "I wanted to thank you." He sat down across from my desk. "The firm I work for is restructuring our ethics training because of what happened at Lee and Patterson. They brought in outside consultants, made us all sign new codes of conduct, actually talk about treating people with respect. That's good. It's because of you, because you didn't just let them get away with it." He pulled out a business card. "My sister, the surgeon I told you about, her hospital is looking for cybersecurity. I told her about your company. I took the card." "Thank you." "No, thank you." He stood to leave, then paused. "Henry called me last week. Wanted to meet up. Said he needed support." "What did you tell him?" "That I hope he finds it. But not for me." Jake smiled slightly. "Some bridges need to stay burned." After he left, I sat at my desk and thought about revenge. How it had started as a simple desire to make Henry feel small. How it had evolved into something much larger. How it had accidentally exposed real wrongdoing and created real change. I pulled up the photo from Business Insider. Me in my office surrounded by monitors looking confident and successful. The caption read, "Emma Chen, CEO of Chen Digital Solutions, believes that transparency and accountability are the foundation of digital security." My phone buzzed. Connor sending a picture of him and Jake at a bar. "New tradition, weekly drinks, where we don't talk about work and don't rate anybody. You're invited anytime." I smiled and saved the photo. Another text from David, my cousin at Vertex Solutions. "New client inquiry. They specifically asked for the team that exposed Lee and Patterson. Should I say yes?" "Say yes," I typed back, "but screen them carefully. We only work with ethical clients now. We have standards now. We always had standards. Now we're just more obvious about them." I looked out my office window at the city below. Somewhere out there, Henry was probably trying to rebuild his career. His father was dealing with the fallout of decades of negligence. The entire legal industry was having a reckoning about digital security. And I was here in my office running my company, living my real life. No more pretending. No more hiding. No more making myself small to make someone else comfortable. My assistant knocked. "Your 3-0 is here. The mayor's office about the city contract." "Send them in." As I stood to greet my new clients, I caught my reflection in the office window. Same face Henry had rated a 6. Same body deemed not hot enough. Same Emma Chen who'd shopped at Target and driven a Toyota and let herself be. Underestimated but different too. Stronger, clearer, absolutely certain of my worth. Henry had wanted to teach me a lesson about my place in his world. Instead, I taught him about consequences, about integrity, about the price of treating people like commodities. It wasn't the revenge I'd planned. It was better, because the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It's about building something so successful, so meaningful, so impactful that their opinion becomes irrelevant. Henry thought I was a 6. Good for him. I knew I was priceless, and that was the only rating that mattered. 6 months later, epilogue. The Tech Innovator Awards ceremony was held at the Grand Ballroom downtown. Chen Digital Solutions had been nominated for innovation in cybersecurity. I wore a red Valentino gown that cost more than Henry's monthly rent. Lily was my date for the evening, elegant in emerald green. "Nervous?" she asked as we took our seats. "No, we've already won." I gestured around the ballroom. "Look at this. 300 tech leaders. Half of them are using our services. We've tripled our revenue, expanded to 4 cities. This award is just validation. Still, it would be nice." It would be, but it wasn't necessary. The ceremony began. Awards were handed out. Speeches were made. Then our category, the Award for Innovation in Cybersecurity, goes to Chen Digital Solutions for their work in developing adaptive threat detection systems and their groundbreaking exposure of systematic security failures in professional services. Lily squeezed my hand as we stood. The applause was thunderous. As I walked to the stage, I saw Connor and Jake in the audience on their feet cheering. I saw clients I'd helped, employees I'd mentored, journalists who'd told our story. And in the back corner, barely visible, I saw Henry. He'd somehow gotten a ticket. Was watching with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not angry, not bitter, something sadder, something like regret. I accepted the award, heavy and cold in my hands. Stepped to the microphone. "Thank you. This award represents thousands of hours of work by an incredible team. But more than that, it represents a belief that technology should protect people, not exploit them. That success means lifting others up, not tearing them down. That true innovation comes from integrity. I paused, looking out at the audience. A few months ago, someone told me I wasn't ambitious enough, that I wasn't impressive enough, that I didn't make enough of an impact. They were wrong. Not because I proved them wrong, but because their opinion was irrelevant. The only validation that matters comes from doing work you're proud of, from treating people with respect, from building something meaningful, more applause. I saw Henry sink lower in his seat. So to anyone who's ever been told they're not enough, you are. You always were. The person who couldn't see it, that's their limitation, not yours. I raised the award. This is for everyone who's been underestimated. May we all prove them wrong by succeeding so completely that their opinions become background noise. The applause followed me off stage. Lily hugged me. Connor and Jake found us at the after-party. That speech, Connor said. Chef's kiss. It was true. Henry left. Jake said quietly, right after you finished. Looked pretty upset. Good. Lily sipped her champagne. He should be. But I felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction. Something more like closure. Like a door finally completely closing. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You were right about all of it. I'm sorry I couldn't see it before. Congratulations on the award. You deserve it. M showed it to Lily. Should I respond? Do you want to? Did I? I thought about Henry, sitting in that dark corner of the ballroom watching me succeed, watching me shine, finally understanding what he'd lost. I typed, "Thank you. I hope you find what you're looking for." Then I blocked the number and put my phone away. Ready to celebrate? Lily asked. Absolutely. We joined our team at the open bar, made toasts, took photos, laughed until my face hurt. This was what success felt like, not the award, not the recognition, but this being surrounded by people who valued me, who respected me, who saw my worth. At the end of the night, as Lily and I waited for our car, she asked, "Do you ever regret it?" The whole thing with Henry? No, and I meant it. If he hadn't shown me who he really was, I might have wasted years with him, might have married him, had kids, built a life with someone who fundamentally didn't respect me. That's a healthy way to look at it. I'm a healthy person. I smiled as our car arrived. Besides, the breakup gave me something valuable. What's that? The absolute certainty that I never need to make myself smaller to be loved. The right person will appreciate all of me. The wrong person doesn't deserve any of me. When did you get so wise? When I overheard myself being rated like produced through a bathroom vent. We laughed all the way home. That night, in my penthouse, I stood at the window one last time. The city lights sparkled below. Somewhere out there, Henry was living his reduced life. Richard Lee was dealing with his tarnished reputation. Lee and Patterson was slowly rebuilding under new management. And I was here whole, successful, free. I pulled up my contacts and unblocked Henry's number, not to respond, just to read that final message one more time. You were right about all of it. Yes, I was. I deleted the message, blocked him again, and went to bed. Tomorrow, Chen Digital Solutions had a presentation for the Department of Defense. We were expanding internationally. We were changing the industry, and I was doing it all as myself, fully, completely, unapologetically. Henry had called me a 6 and thrown me away. Turns out I was off his scale entirely, and I'd never been happier to be underestimated because it meant that when I succeeded, I knew I'd done it entirely on my own merit. The revenge had been sweet, but the success was sweeter, and the peace, that was sweetest of all. The end. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from